And as Mike Watkiss tells us, even though they didn't find the body today, they say the search went very well. Mike?
Patty, you're absolutely right. 5 weeks to the day after Cookie Jacobson disappeared from her family's Tempe home, police began their search of this massive landfill looking for her body. Let's show you an aerial shot, and there you will see the large green tarp covering the dent that searchers made in this landfill today during 7 hours of searching. The bad news is they did not find Mrs. Jacobson's body on this day one of the search. The good news is they're making better than expected progress. Talk about your labor-intensive activity. Sifting through 4,000 tons of tightly compacted garbage, rake in hand, piece by piece, looking for the remains of a suspected murder victim.
There's a body in this landfill, and that body is a piece of evidence in a crime because we believe it's a homicide, number one. Number two, this isn't the place she should be. If she is dead for whatever reason, she shouldn't be in the landfill.
And the process of finding that body first begins with the trash being scooped out of this gigantic landfill burying ground and then loaded by the thousands of pounds into massive dump trucks. And as each truckload of garbage is pulled out of the landfill, it's brought down here to this staging area where it's spread flat, and then a small army of police officers line up, plow through it, rake in hand, piece by piece.
I'm fairly optimistic. I think I'm a little less gung-ho than everybody else just because I've been through one that was not successful.
And amid the small platoon of police officers, all of whom volunteered for this back-breaking search, forensic anthropologist Dr. Laura Fulginetti, who assisted Phoenix cops with a similar search 2 years ago. Her job, when bones are uncovered, to make the call where they came from. You found a lot of bones already?
Yes.
What kind of bones?
Chicken, a lot of wings, some beef bones, beef ribs, pork ribs, things like that.
And of course, what investigators are looking for, the body of 49-year-old Cookie Jacobson, who disappeared from her Tempe home 5 weeks ago today. Cops suspect Jacobson was killed by her 16-year-old son, Aaron, who then, allegedly with the help of his sister, Laura, dumped their mother's body in the trash. An ugly allegation that has now led to this ugly, costly, and painful search of the Butterfield Station landfill. And Patty, those investigators will be back at their search first thing tomorrow. Another piece of good news is that in their searching, they did find evidence, things like letters with addresses on it, indicating that the trash that they're looking through came from the neighborhood around the Jacobson home, so they do have a high degree of optimism.
Do they have a date beyond which they won't search anymore?
Really, they are here to find a body. They've earmarked, the city of Tempe reportedly has earmarked about $250,000. They're burning through about $40,000 to $50,000 worth of taxpayer money a week going through this search, but I think everybody involved in this is here for the duration. They want to find Cookie Jacobson.
Good deal. Thank you for that, Mike.
They are working to recover the body of Cookie Jacobson. As Mike Watkiss tells us now, things went really well yesterday, right, Mike?
That's exactly right, Scott, and more encouraging finds today. Additional letters with addresses from the neighborhood around Cookie Jacobson's Tempe home. Also newspapers dated in the time frame that investigators are looking at. Of course, that is in late September. And as you say, after working the process out yesterday, the pace definitely quickening here today, and they were at it bright and early this morning. Even over a garbage dump, a desert sunrise is a spectacular sight. And early today, it illuminated the troop of Tempe police officers as they stretched out and warmed up for yet another long, tough day at the end of a rake.
You know, as the days go by, it's going to be harder and harder for everybody to get up and think about coming here to spend another day. But so far, they're still pretty up about it, pretty positive.
Tempe Police Lieutenant Laura Forbes is calling the shots on this massive landfill search for the body of Cookie Jacobson. And Forbes says with one full day now under their belt, her team has worked out the bugs and remains optimistic they will find what they're looking for.
They're on a mission.
And in discussing this project, while we talk about heavy equipment and the tonnage of garbage, once it actually gets down to the investigation, they are focusing on the minute, a scrap of paper, or something as small as a finger bone.
It's possible that the body has been tumbled and pushed and pulled and moved so many times that what we could be looking for in essence are finger bones and toes and things that are really small. So what we've tried to encourage the officers to do is to kind of work kind of like anthropologists and like an archaeological dig sort of a sense.
And one good sign this morning, this discarded Arizona Republic, dated one day before Cookie Jacobson disappeared from her Tempe home.
So that's right in our neck of the woods. So that's very encouraging.
I think by all accounts, everybody here seems to think they're moving ahead of schedule in the terms of going through this garbage, in terms of the tonnage that they're able to rake through. And it's interesting, they've really slowed down that process. They're going much more meticulously through each piece, but they're moving at a real good pace here. And I think the mood remains very optimistic that they'll find something sooner than later.
And Mike, digging through all that trash, of course, poses some health hazards, and I understand that some of the crews, as well as yourself, have gone through some special health checks.
Well, we all had to have tetanus shots. We had to go through OSHA training. You can see that I think some of the white uniforms, you have to really wear a full body of protective gear to be out there, Marty. They're concerned about safety. They've got one body they believe out here. They don't want any additional injuries on top of that.
And you bring up a good point, Mike. I mean, most of us assume they're just going to come across the body, but after what that's been through, it could be just individual bones, right?
Yeah, the way they're now going with the rakes, Scott, at this point, it really reminds one of an archaeological dig where they're just using a toothbrush to look at the fibers and look at the ground, and that's really the way that the people, I think that's the big difference. They were going through big rakes yesterday. Now it's much smaller. They're looking for real small particles.
Yeah. We'll check back with you in a bit. Thanks, Mike.
Mike Watkiss is just back from another day with investigators out at the Mobile landfill. Mike?
Petty, day 2 at the dump once again saw investigators making good progress in tackling this mountain of garbage. They haven't found Mrs. Jacobson's body yet, but that doesn't mean they came up empty-handed.
Life in the landfill. Little baby toad, it looks like.
A tiny toad may not have been what they were looking for, but hey, during the course of back-breaking work like this, any moment of levity seems to go a very long way. A moment that quickly passes as investigators return to the matter at hand, finding the body of 49-year-old Cookie Jacobson, the Tempe mom who was allegedly tossed in the trash last month by her own 2 teenage children.
I think they're ready for anything they could find. We've done, I think, a very, very good job of trying to prepare our people, saying, hey, we don't know what state we're going to find her in. We might find her dismembered. We might find her as a whole. We don't know.
What we've tried to encourage the officers to do is to kind of work kind of like anthropologists and like an archaeological dig sort of a sense, where you're looking for the most minute things that'll give us a clue that this is part of a human body.
And during this day 2 of dump diving by Tempe cops, some of the downsides of searching a landfill starting to hammer home. An unforgiving desert sun and virtually no wind made today's labor seem hotter and the garbage smellier than yesterday's search. But despite all that, morale of the men and women at the ends of the rakes said to remain high.
You know, as you can imagine, you do one load and you say, geez, it's tough. And as you get through maybe your 15, we did 15 loads yesterday. So it takes some cheering out here, but people are stepping up.
And with yesterday's few bugs now worked out and the search schedule moving smoothly and faster than expected, the personalities in this troop of Tempe police officers are starting to emerge, with the role of chief cheerleader played by veteran cop Sergeant Chuck Scoville.
I guess if there's somebody out here that's keeping these guys going, I hope it's me.
One encouraging find today, a discarded Arizona Republic dated September 20th, one day before Cookie Jacobson disappeared, meaning that this trash falls into the timetable that police are investigating. Add that to more letters found today bearing addresses close to Cookie Jacobson's home, like this one from the nearby Grace Community Church, and cops continue to feel they're close, and with each rake load, a little closer. Patty, and they are back at it at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
All right, quite a team. Thank you, Mike.